Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Parallel League podcast. Today, Mookah and I are joined by Lambyseries and fatcat, so we're super excited to have you on the podcast episode today. But before we get into it, let's just go over a few announcements real quick. So, a big congrats to Ego Rick for winning the first minor tournament of Season 2. Pretty exciting. Tice came in second. It was definitely a good tournament this past weekend. Next weekend is another Open. There will be 2 different Swiss qualifiers, so you can check the website, and the sign up will be on Monday. And again, you can always go to parallelleague.game for all of the information on the schedule of events. So, today's episode is going to be a deck tech episode because these two are apparently wizards when it comes to creating a deck and then refining a deck. And so we're going to get into that discussion in just a minute here. But before we do, I want to get a little bit of background on fatcat because Mookah and I have said your name many, many times. I'm pretty sure you have the most top 8s, I want to say. I think that might be the stat. And, we've had Lamby on the podcast before, so we know a little bit about, Wonder Child here, who's always the tippy top of the parallel ladder. But I want
Thank you.
to dive into a little bit more on fatcat, your background. How did you get started in card games, and how did you find parallel?
Yeah. So actually, when I really actually was a child, I started with Pokemon when I was like 12.
Okay.
But when I turned 14, I started on Hearthstone, and then I played Hearthstone for like 7 years straight.
Mm.
And around when I was 18, I actually started playing some tournaments. Nothing too big, but like I played in a couple of Master Tales, got the top 16 once. And then for Finstream, I like he convinced me to start playing. I was talking to Fino all the time when I started. He like told me to start, and it was the exact same month that we had the race for the top 5. That whoever gets top 5 gets 3K, and top 1 gets the 5K, which Lamby was fighting for.
That was a crazy
And
month.
so I started playing, and I just played all the time just so I can get the top 5. It was like too good of an opportunity to pass on. And just I fell in love with the game. Just really, really liked it. So I just kept on playing, competing.
Amazing. So let's see, when was that? That was probably like just as
September.
season 1 was September. Yeah, so a couple months
Yeah.
after season 1 started. So you've been playing parallel for quite some time, and again have had some really impressive, like the amount of times that you've been very close to taking the win. Mookah and I have definitely watched a lot of your matches, and we enjoy casting them for sure.
How does it feel to be the most consistent, like top placer in parallel, but also like the most emotional on stream? Like I feel like we always see you like you're always like you can very easily tell how you feel about a match. Like can like yeah, how's that whole thing? I mean, you've gone there so many times, but like is that just always how you are when you're playing the game?
So I sort of I think I wasn't as emotional like in the past playing, but I just from liking to watch card games, I always noticed that it's the most fun to watch whoever actually reacting on stream and cares about
Mhm.
what's happening.
Yep.
So that's like a long time, like 1 year ago or something, I decided that I want to be one of those guys. I want to be the one that's fun to watch and to actually show that I care about what's happening, or when I'm happy, when I'm stressed out. I don't think it actually affects my play that much. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I love it. As casters,
Yeah.
we love it. Oh, you
yeah,
can get such a clear tell on like how you're feeling and lets us like chime in with like how you're playing and stuff. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you don't really think about it too much. Like if it's like a conscious decision, like I'm gonna keep myself reserved, stay focused, or like no, just let it out. It's fun, it's entertaining as long as it doesn't affect play. It's like good to go.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure I have the most topics. I didn't actually count.
I'm
I,
pretty
I
sure
did.
you do.
You do.
You
I know.
definitely
Yeah.
do.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys,
Yeah.
he's underselling himself a bit. So I just chime in a bit, right? We
uh,
started working together about 6 months ago, and in the last 6 months, he has only not made top 8 one time. Just count all the tournaments that we've had in the last 6 months. He has only not top 8 one time, which was last week. So
That's so
yeah.
impressive.
yeah.
Like, that consistency, wow. Yeah, actually, can you give us a little background about how you 2, became a team, a little bit in these
Right.
deck constructions.
This
Right.
kind
This one.
of it's a funny story, yeah.
Yeah,
You
this one
said
I
it.
have to
Go ahead.
start. I have to start. This
Yeah,
is my
it's
law here.
yours.
Okay. So right after November, the YGG Play Summit, right? This one I don't think even fatcat knows how it started. But so basically I was at the airport going back to Singapore after YGG Play Summit, and I was on like the same airport terminal as Gonggra. Shout out to Gonggra, by the way, if you guys remember Gonggra. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I met him there, we chatted a bit, and I realized this guy was really try hard as well. So I was like, okay, yo, let's work together for the next few events and see what happens. Because I've been trying to find a group of people I could practice with for a very long time with like the same style, same like work ethic as me and all that kind of thing. So I've been trying to find different groups of people for like the entire parallel year, but none of it really worked out. So the Gonggra looked like he was like super try hard. So I was like, okay, let's try and do this. And then we went back and then we started practicing. And then there was one day I queued into fatcat on ladder and he was playing this God knows what deck. This weird
What?
thing. I wouldn't want to go into too detail because there's a chance we'll bring it back. But like
Yeah.
he was playing this God knows what deck. And after the event, I was like, after the match, I DM'd him. I was like, what's that? Then he just sent me the list, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And I was like, how do you come up with this? And he was like, oh, I looked at the collection for a long time, and I was just trying to make something work. And I was like, okay. So I've got a try hard guy in my practice group. I've got a guy that will innovate. This seems like it's a thing. So I put all three of us into a group and I'm like, okay, next tournament, let's do our thing. And the next tournament, if I'm not wrong, was the very famous Infinity Cash thing.
Yeah, it
Right.
was the
So-
major too.
Yeah, so basically, the funny thing is fatcat himself didn't bring the deck, but he was the one of the main reasons why we tried to bring the deck. And if you guys remember that tournament, we got Unseen Allies banned as well because there was this deck that could be Pocket Dimension without Pocket Dimension. Yeah, there was that deck. That was also from our group. So I guess that was the beginning of how we started. It was just a random thing where I was trying to find a good practice group. Turns out we all worked really well together. Even though Gonggra is not really playing anymore, but fatcat and I, we run it back every tournament. And I think our results are pretty stellar. Like for him, it's very obvious because he's top 8 everything except one. For me, obviously, it's a bit different, right? I didn't hit as many top 8s, but I got like top at Worlds. I did a lot of top 16s, just nearly making it, So I think our consistent results show that like what we are doing is really working right now.
Dream team. Wow. I like absolutely love that. And how intentional you've been in like trying to find the best practice partners because I mean there's probably, a ton of good players and deck builders, but it's about the flow between the people, right? And how you work together and it clearly seems like you've nailed it. So, wonderful to hear. Now, okay, first actually before we talk a little bit about the meta itself, Lamby, while you're on it, let's talk about your tweet where I think you fell short just before top 4 of the minor.
Yeah.
And you had a very passionate tweet. I don't think I can say it
Just don't.
because of the profanity on the episode, but maybe we can
Yeah.
flash it on the screen. But you effed up the final game before the top 4 and lost, and there was just a lot of emotion in that. So can you tell us about that moment?
Right. So this is a very good time to talk about my opinion on the word tilt. All right, because like a lot of people ask me like, do you tilt? How do you manage tilt? So I think the thing about tilting is that you don't. If you're very emotionally invested in a game and you care about winning, it's kind of impossible not to feel the emotions when things don't go well, right? So you will always feel upset. You will always feel a bit of tilt, but it's how you manage the fall. Like if you let the fall happen during the tournament, you're screwed. So what I usually do is like I will fall, but you don't see me fall during a tournament. I'll fall after. So my fall is after everything is done, I just spam some nonsense on Twitter to get it all out, and then like I move on. So yeah, it was a very emotional tweet because, like you said, very close. But I think that also is the way that I handle all these kind of like stress and stuff like that, whereby I don't let it affect me during a match or tournament. I let it out all at the end. So if you guys want to see the tweet, you can go to my Twitter and see what we are actually talking about. But like, yeah, basically it was a very like loud tweet. But I think at the end of the day, what I really wanted to say is just that the way I see it is that like, if you're emotionally invested in a game, you will for sure feel something when you lose. Just don't let it affect in the current situation because the tournament is not done yet. You can let it all out after you're done, but during the match, don't.
I love that. I think that's incredibly profound, and it kind of brings me back a little bit to our first episode with you, because it seems like you really take the approach of mental fortitude and just like I don't know. I think you could apply that logic not just to tilt, but also to anxiety and stress. It's like
Hmm.
those situations aren't not going to come up. It's more about your relationship to them and how you manage them, rather than it just not happening. So I think that is very insightful, and I think a lot of players could probably, learn from that, because we've seen it, time and time again. Mookah and I casting these tournaments, like when someone's starting to tilt and making mistakes, like you can tell. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that's really
I
good.
remember the first time we had you, you were talking about the totem. Like that's what you do in between games.
Mm,
You'll like hop
Hmm.
off and you told everyone to have like their thing that they can do to kind of like reset and then go into the next game. And then this one's really good. I just want to say when I saw the tweet, I was laughing so much because there's a tweet before it where he just talks about like it's very like stoic and he's like, I did this, I was very close, blah blah blah. This was how the tournament went. And
Yeah, I
then the
mean,
next one was like, next one was like,
I
go ahead,
knew
go
how
ahead.
this was gonna work because I have a degree in marketing. So like if you want to get retweeted, you don't give them a reason to like you can't retweet the profanity part. So I just put it into two different things so that like
Yeah.
one side is presentable and the other side is my feelings. So
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I love it. So, well, thank you for walking us through that, because when it came up on the timeline, I was chuckling, but also feeling bad because I get it.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about the current meta. What do you guys think of the game right now?
So right now we've been in the same meta for a very long time now. It's getting very stale in my opinion.
Mhm.
Although people are still finding like new tech cards, all the decks are different. Like no one is bringing the exact same 40 cards. Everyone like has like 3 to 5 cards different
Yep.
in the list. And while people are like trying new things, like the Catty and CP Rain and the early game tempo is the most important. Uh,
Yeah.
there are
I,
some options, but yeah, sorry.
no, it's fine. Carry on, Karen.
Yeah, there are some options for tech cards, especially in tournaments, but on ladder, like you can play Catty and CP basically if you want to win games. Anything else, and you'll be putting yourself in a bit of a disadvantage, is the thing right now.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna echo his point a little bit, which is like I think the meta right now is a bit solved per se, whereby the
Mhm.
top two decks are Cathy and CP, with Cathy being slightly ahead because Cathy has the sort of good CP matchup, right? Because of the Bloodhounds just like obliterating all form of tempo, and then your CP just never gets on the board. And of course, CP is still just like the second best deck simply because it has like quite a lot of value, it has a lot of aggression. Anything that's not faster than it kind of just loses to it, which is the only thing really faster than it is like Cathy. So I think the meta right now is a bit soft, but at the same time we see interesting changes here and there in terms of like one or two cards, like fatcat mentioned. Like the list is always changing a little bit. Like sometimes you have a bit more saboteur, sometimes you have a bit more poisoner in your list. Sometimes you have like in the slower decks as well, we see a bit more like solitary confinement pop up because Brand is also popping up a bit. Like you can't really play Neve on ladder because Cathy farms Neve, but I guess Brand has like a decent chance into Cathy. So like we see a bit of Brand pop up, and because a little bit of Brand pops up, then we see a bit of more solitary confinement, disassembly swarm, all that kind of stuff to hard remove the Brand. So it's like you react to the top decks by bringing the
Mhm.
better shroud into those top decks, and then because you bring the better shroud into those top decks, the top decks react by putting the tech for your Brand in their deck. So it's like this like dance of like reacting to each other.
Yeah.
But I think the meta other than that is like a bit soft already.
That makes a
It's
lot of
like
sense. It reminds me in other TCGs that will like sometimes do side events on set formats, like Yu-Gi-Oh does this, where like they'll pick an old format and like you can only play with cards that are available then under like the same like, pretenses that those cards were available. And at first when they started doing those, the cards that were really good, the decks that were really good back then were still really good when they brought it back. But then people started finding new tech cards, and then everybody would shift to one way of playing, and because everybody played that way, then another way of playing would shift. And we're not seeing it as like a bigger amount, partially because the card pool of Parallel isn't like as massive, but it is like this little dance with like the tech cards and like slight build differences, which is kind of cool to see. I think it's more fun on the tournament side, but on
Yes.
ladder is definitely where it feels like more stale. I think I agree with like Fat Cat. I think we've like gone through this period where Parallel, a lot of the exciting cards were like the early tempo cards, like your Bannermans, your Barons, and stuff like that. And because like they were out of line, I guess you could say, and like how good they were, then they got nerfed. And then, but the game is still very tempo oriented. We don't have enough stuff to like carry you through the mid game to the late game. So you
Yeah.
have your exciting front cards are not exciting front cards anymore, and then your exciting late game cards can't see play because you don't have the thing to get you there. So it feels like that's where it feels stale for me. Like we're not at that point where I can jam like my, you're never gonna see a game right now where I jam a Bora and everyone's freaking out, like, or anything like that. Like once we can get to that point, I think the game gets a lot more exciting. Obviously, meta changes where cards getting nerfed, cards getting buffed help also, but that's what I want to see the game get towards. How do you guys feel about that? I guess is what I'd ask.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big thing is all the early game cards are very snowbally. Like things like Bannerman, things
Mhm.
like the CP card, like the 1/3 and
Subjugate.
CP, the Subjugate, and even just the Relic.
Mhm.
While at the same time, we don't have any good board swing cards or AoEs. So there's just, if you don't fight for the board early, you're gonna lose it by a lot and lose the game early.
Yeah, I think what he mentioned is also like pretty good segue into like how we build our decks as well at the end of the day, because like fatcat and I we realized this like tempo thing really early on, and I feel like the game is still in a position whereby tempo is king, right? That even Neve, by the way, which is like the sort of control deck, is actually a tempo deck in disguise, by the way. You really just want to play like one drop into Void Trapper, into Rummaging Researcher. It's still a tempo
Yeah.
deck. So like I feel like now when you build your decks, your focus still really needs to be a lot about tempo. But of course, like Mookah said, right, the day will come where Bora will be a thing, and I'll be so happy as well because I like the card.
Right? I agree. I love the late game bombs, but like in parallel, we just currently can't get to them. So I completely agree. But just before we move into that a little bit, I'm curious like your play styles both. Like would you just say you just play the best deck, whatever it is, or when it comes to you as a player, I'm curious where you guys land.
Well, playstyle is an interesting thing in card games, because I'm not sure how much it exists. There's usually is the best play to do. It doesn't matter your play, and sometimes like you can prefer different decks, and yeah, we usually just go for the 3 best decks that go best into the tournament field. So we always consider that. Like in the recent tournaments, the big thing was, do you bring Shroud or do you bring Elfen? And we actually, I think, changed our minds from one tournament to the next. I bought Elfen the last tournament and Shroud for this one, because I changed my mind on whether or not I want to ban Kati or do I want to ban CP.
Yeah, I think I echo his sentiment as well, whereby I think in general we are just people that, the funny thing is we are also very big innovators, right? But so this is the catch, whereby we would love to innovate, but we wouldn't force the innovation. I think that's really very important, because like let's just say there is something special worth bringing. We might have discovered it, we would test it, and then when we realize it's not good enough, we wouldn't be like, oh, this is so amazing, we must bring it. Like we wouldn't force a bring, like at the end of the day, if it's good, we will bring it. If it's not, we can just play best decks. I think we are flexible in this aspect. I think one thing that we do very well is we are very grounded, in the sense that like we are very like big on just like playing well and winning, So if our special concoction does that, yeah, we bring it. But if it doesn't, let's just play the best decks and play the best decks well, optimize it well. I think a lot of the tournaments so far, like I know it's hard to make a general statement like this, but I think me and him, fatcat, we've brought like some of the best versions of good decks to tournaments for a lot of these events. Just citing a few examples, like remember back when Combat Heuristics, what's the card? Extrapolator, yes.
DHE.
Combat Heuristics Extrapolator was meta. We had the best build because we never lost the Cathy Mirror with our build. That was one thing. And then now the latest one, I think, which is super relevant, I think, is the CP deck that we built. A lot of people play Convergent Recruiter in their CP decks. And they play this Convergent Princeps, the 1-drop, as like a filler, because you need to draw extra cards, right? But we maxed out. We went triple Princeps, triple Reliant Gamma, triple Valorously Striker, which is a bit crazy, because like, why would you play like 9 1-drops and 3 of them are bad, right? But the point is, in the CP deck, we realized that you cannot float mana. If you float mana in a CP deck, it feels worse than floating mana in a Cathy deck. So we just wanted the best possible chance to open good. And it showed in my matches because I was opening way better than more of my CP opponents who played like 7 1-drops, using the Princeps as just a filler. But we used the Princeps as a literal thing just to fill the curve, which helped out a lot in the end. So yeah, we optimized like this, and all these little things that we do, it might seem very minuscule and like, oh, why is it such a big deal that it's 3 copies instead of 2 copies? Well, it's a card game, right? The increased chance of drawing it is very relevant. So that's why we are very big on optimizing these kind of things.
Yeah,
So can you
also
go into? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, cutting science in CP, I was also gonna add that I think we started it, and now a lot of
Yeah.
people don't play science anymore because we want to always get the 0-1, so we have to bank a unit. And the poisoner in Cutty, I think is something we also started, but now it's standard in every Cutty deck.
Yeah, triple poisoner and Kathy.
Yeah.
I was gonna have you guys actually talk about this most recent minor and the specific choices for because you said it earlier, like pretty much everything's getting fairly refined. People are bringing the same decks, but when we go over the deck reviews before the matches, like there are slight differences here and there. So you've already talked a little bit about some of the Scipius choices and Kathy, but if there's anything else that led to your decision of the specific choices, I would be curious.
I'm trying to think of if anything stands out. Oh, right. This one is quite interesting. I don't know if fatcat actually shares my exact sentiment on this one, but despite like, even if you were to ban CP right now, for example, this is just like an idea that I realized, you kind of have to have certain amount of relic removal left in your deck, maybe like 1 copy, because unbeknownst to most, right, being able to remove Altar of Gaia from the Earthen deck is actually super important, because Altar of Gaia is one of the way that the Earthen deck actually swings back a game or a board with like the Terra Glider and something like that. So what I like to do is that even if, I banned Kathy this time, but like for the most part, even if you were to ban CP, I feel like you cannot completely go without relic removal, because Altar of Gaia is such a beast of a card to help you swing back the board. So that's one thing that I noticed as well.
I do disagree with that. I hate running
Yeah,
relic removal. You try not to run tech cards, especially like you have to draw the tech cards while they draw their like 2 or 3 of relic, and it's still like only a 2 mana for 2 mana trade, and they can already have you gain value from that relic. It feels too situational to me. I usually don't run it.
So this is quite funny, right? Like you see, we just disagreed live on podcast, but in our practice, right, we also always disagree. Like there's only I think 1 time or 2 times in the last 6 months that our deck lists are exactly the same 90 cards. Like most of the time there's some differences. Like in the latest one, I remember I DM'd him, I was like, yo, I want to beat Shroud, I'm gonna put Hearth in every list. Then he's like, Hearth is such a bad 2 mana 1/3, I'm not gonna play the card. So he didn't play the card. I played the card. It's a sample size of 1 tournament, so it doesn't really make much difference. But like the point is, we disagree so often, but the thing is, we still complement each other really well despite disagreeing so often, which is really nice actually.
That's what I feel like when it usually comes out the best, because you guys have to test your opinions, because you guys are going at, one person saying, the other one saying, okay, let's just play it and see which one is actually true. I mean, obviously there's always like spot decisions based on what you want to prefer. Like certain matchups, you want them to go a certain way, so you may be thinking one way, the other guy's thinking another way, but for the whole skeleton of what you guys are doing, it's all going to come down to like, I said one thing, okay, prove it because I think you're wrong, and then that's usually when you get the best results.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I want to
Wait,
quickly,
fatcat.
I want to segue into one thing really quick.
Okay, yeah.
Because these guys are
Okay.
not talking about something that I think we should highlight. You guys have, I'm gonna say, arguably as a 2-player kind of combo, probably the most tops fatcat and Lamby together. But on top of that, you guys probably have the most like card bans as a result of your guys testing than I think I've ever seen any other people like that play together do. Like you've talked about the Neve Infinite combo deck that used to be done with Pocket Dimension. You guys figured out how to do with Unseen Allies. Card gets banned. There's obviously the Infinite Cash deck, which had a whole patch to fix because of the combo. Recently, the Scipius Expertise. That was you guys for this tournament. You guys were whipping something up. So I think you guys are very good at finding combo decks that like lead to these wacky like either OTKs or like crazy setups. How does that happen?
I just look at the collection all the time. I really like building decks. I really like finding things, and there is a lot of like random things you can find parallel that ends up doing like something insane. I
So
really
this
I
is
really like combo decks also, which we don't really have yet.
yeah. So this is not really an understatement. Like he literally says this to me. Like I was like, well, how do you find this guy? He was like, oh, I look at the collection all day. Like he says exactly this in private
Yeah.
Discord calls as well. Like I look at the collection all day. Then I'm like, okay. Like I mean, I don't look at the collection all day, but like the moment he brings up an idea, I was like, oh yeah, I know this makes sense. But how come no one is doing it? It's because it's such a like no one thinks about it. You know, like I think Parallel is in a state whereby the meta is the meta and people don't really stray away from the meta as often. So like people like us, we tend to like to like experiment, you know, whether it's exactly gonna work out or not, it's not the point. The point is like we like to explore, and then like when you explore, you sometimes discover things that you never intend to discover. I feel like this one is mainly all credit fatcat, by the way. Like the infinite cache thing was something that I don't think he even expected to find. He was just looking randomly and then he found, and then it became a thing. So
Wow. Would you guys agree that the tournament meta, like, there a little time ago, people were innovating more, like, people brought Gafar or like the hacker deck, like we didn't like it felt like every tournament there was a new thing that was popping up that we were like, oh, we actually hadn't seen this before. And it feels like it sounds like you guys are potentially finding those things, but choosing not to bring them. As you mentioned earlier, like you'll even if you come up with an innovative idea, you'll stay grounded and you'll still bring the right thing. But I personally think that there's a little bit more of like experimentation, that we saw, at the end of maybe of last season, and we're not seeing it now. Would you agree with that?
mm,
It's
yeah,
like sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like first of all we had this meta for a very long time and like there was a lot of experimentation early, but after cards got nerfed and other cards got better, it's a lot harder. We have like 2 or 3 decks are almost very good that we experiment with and we kept secrets that are just not good enough to bring. But we think in the near future maybe something changes and we can actually bring them.
Yeah, so fatcat is a bit more dangerous than me. Like I wasn't even gonna say we had 2 or 3. I was just gonna say we had some ideas. But like he's more dangerous than me, guys. Okay, but yeah, we do have a few ideas that were almost there. It's not even the CPS expertise, by the way. That was like the least potent one. But anyway, so we had a few things that were almost there, but it didn't make it. But I think what he said is very true also, which is this meta has been going on for quite a while. And when things have been going on for quite a while, the dominant decks, I mean they stayed dominant, so there's not many things that could like rise up and beat them. Like I know Ellie mentioned the Gafar meta. I think that was like when LSC was still a 3 cost, and I think it was relatively new. So I think that was a fresh meta, I believe, and that's why there was like room for more innovation. But I think once the meta has gone on for a bit too long, there's a bit less room for sneaky surprises to rise up above and beat the established tier ones.
Yeah. Well, that makes me really excited to see what you guys cook with the what's the new patch called? The gun
0.65.
Oh,
yeah,
shotgun?
the
The
gunshot
shotgun
or
patch? Shotgun
yeah,
patch.
shotgun. There you
Gunshot.
go. I will definitely look forward to seeing what you guys brew up in that. But no, I think that makes a lot of sense. We've been living in this meta for quite some time. Let's talk a little bit more about your process. So fatcat just stares at the collection all day, 24/7, and then highlights a few things that could be experimented with. And then Lamby, you've called yourself like a really good refiner. Like
Yes.
walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think we touched a little bit on this already earlier on when we were talking about like our best build of Kathy in the mirror, Sippy playing 9/1 drops. And there's a lot of other things also. Like I think one thing that I'm really good at doing is, and also I guess it's a blessing and a curse, which is I'm a very huge perfectionist, which is if things feel a bit off, I will make sure it doesn't feel off, which could take a long time. Like it would take like days or hours to like make sure I feel like comfortable with like what I'm doing. But I think because of this work habit that I have, I don't really leave any stone unturned. And the good thing about working with fatcat is he's also very particular about like, oh, what's the correct mulligan, what's the game plan. Like when during our practice, right, we don't get into the call and we don't like, okay, what should we play? Like we already know what's good. Like even before we go on the call, because we play the game quite a bit, right? So we kind of know what's good. So when we get on the call, what we do is just like, all right, how do you mulligan for this matchup? What's the best play in this scenario? What's the game plan? Like we talk about scenarios, game plans, and like win conditions more than like what to bring. What to bring is the bare minimum a lot of the time. We don't really spend a lot of time about that. So I think that's one thing that we do that's very effective in our practice, and also helps me when it comes to optimization, because like the guy that I'm practicing with already is on the same level of thought as me. So we don't waste time. We don't waste time like on things that aren't important essentially.
How hard is it for you guys to test ideas? Because I'm assuming you guys aren't like practicing all you playing your ladder games. And I've seen like Fat Cat, like people will be like, "What the heck is Fat Cat playing on ladder?" I've seen that with Lamby too. I've even seen like Lamby messages in Discord where he's like, I'm giving away free MMR." That usually means you're testing something, you're
Mhm.
testing out a concept or something. So what is that process like with like verifying on ladder versus like doing it in private? How much do you guys balance that out?
I
I would
mean,
say in
ladder is
general,
sample size, right? Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
preparing for tournaments on ladder is very inefficient. You play a lot of decks that you would never play into ladder. You play a lot of bad opponents, and it's very hard. Like if you're banning Catty right now and you want to practice for non-Catty matchups on ladder, half of the matches you play are gonna be useless.
Yeah.
So practicing with each other helps a lot for tournaments, especially for the other what we call the third deck matchup right now. Because if you don't want to play Kati and CP, the third deck is very important, and that's very hard to practice with and for.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing about curated private practice is you save time also if you think about it, right? Because like if you're practicing on ladder and you're like he said, if you're banning Kathy, on ladder maybe you spend like 5 hours and you hit like majority Kathy. But in private practice, you can just choose to never play against a Kathy, right? And then spend like half the time playing against what you actually want to play against. So I think sometimes we just practice on ladder when we are just like goofing around and trying to figure out like what's the like if this is something really very new, like maybe we do a bit of CPS expertise on the ladder and what's so not, just to like see how it's like. But I think once it gets to a point whereby we think this is really a legit deal, and then we need more curated practice, we just go into private games, and it's really a lot more efficient, because I feel like when it
Yeah.
comes to private games, firstly you know what exactly you're looking for, and like your practice partner is not like a random guy, it's someone that you choose to practice with, and you know that they are of a certain skill level to like contribute towards your learning of the build, the deck, and whatsoever the matchup. So I
Yeah.
think it's a mix of both, but I think most of the best learning and most of the best practice comes from private matches.
That makes a lot of sense. Fat
Yeah.
Cat, since you're the one that's staring at the cards and like coming up with the wacky combos, like are there cards that you read, you have a brain blast, and you and Lamby talk about it, and you're like, no ladder, like this one is off ladder, like we got to
All the
try.
time. All the time.
All the
Like,
time.
I always get like write to him, do not get this a lot. It's especially after the Unseen Allies that we got nerfed, and that one got
Yeah,
leaked.
man.
We were
Bro,
so sad about it. It's
unseen-
like it was the best deck in the game, and no one knew about it but us. We worked on it really
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, so that Unseen Allies combo Neve deck was very sad, because the only game that I played with it on ladder happened to land up on a streamer's stream, and I hit the absolute nuts on the first game on a streamer's stream. And there was so many people watching it, and then I was just like, oh no. Like that was the only time I played it on ladder. Yeah. So
You just
so it was very
concede
unfortunate.
preemptively, so they don't
Yeah, it
know.
was very unfortunate. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that I think that because I think this is also my issue, as because I'm a streamer as well. I remember, this whole Shoshana revolution that's happening right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's also because I've been publicizing it a lot, but I think in order to maintain my integrity as well, because I don't want to lie, I always want to tell the truth. So when I cannot share something, I literally tell my chat, I'm just like, yo, I'm not gonna tell you guys what's going on. I will say I cannot tell you what's going on, instead of like not telling the truth. So I think people come to respect that already, which is fine. So with that being said, yeah, there are certain things that if you see it once, you will definitely try it, because it's so good. But if you've never seen it, you probably will never think about it. That's some of the ideas that we have right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Man, the level I respect it. Like you guys are super try hard. I,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
that's
are.
great. I'm curious. So, is it just you two that practice with each other, and are you taking applications to for other pros to join your little testing, or are you really like your system of the two of you?
I mean, currently it's really just both of us practicing together. We had Gongkra previously, but I think he's just taking a break or something right now. So it's just us right now. But we obviously talk to a lot of other pro players. Like we are definitely chatting with a lot of other random pro players just because like we want to like, I don't know, just socialize or like get opinions and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think we are definitely open to like people like joining us and practicing together. But obviously, the thing about practice groups is that firstly, it cannot be too big. If not, it defeats the purpose, right? If not, you're just practicing against all your opponents. And I guess secondly, also like I think work ethic is very important. Like you cannot force a work ethic, you know. And I think me and him, we just got really lucky that our work ethic kind of coincides. Like even our time zones kind of like coincide. So like no one is playing through the night when we practice. Like he's like in the afternoon, he's in the morning, I'm in the afternoon, like he's 6 hours apart or something like that. So like it's just quite easy. Like everything just lines up. So I think at the end of the day, if we choose to like expand our practice group, it's really if the work ethic fits, you know, and like yeah, I think that's the simplest way to put it. If the work ethic fits, then definitely open to more people.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the more people there are, while you can practice more efficiently, maybe it is also like another guy in the tournament is gonna have the best free decks to play against you. So like
Yeah.
you don't want to give too many people an advantage.
Yeah, I like it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Seems like you guys make a really good team, and so you're open to it. But you've got a really good thing going right now, so that's cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so alongside, I guess, that, what do you guys think makes a very good practice group? Because like you guys are encompassing a lot of roles in like a few of you. Like there's two of you right now. So if you were to give advice to like a couple players that are trying to figure out like what do I need to get a good group and play with, what would you guys say are like the skill sets that are required?
I think I'll start this one off because I've worked in teams and esports organizations a lot, right, in the past as well. So I feel like when it comes to team dynamic or practice dynamic, firstly, everyone's skill level needs to be a bit similar, right? Because you cannot like have someone like just not understanding what's going on at the base level. So I think that's one thing, right? And I think the second thing is there also needs to be a devil's advocate. And we in our case, both of us are like you need someone to ask questions because if everyone is of the same opinion, we are all human, right? We will miss out something. So I believe that there always needs to be someone asking questions. In our case, it's really good because we always ask each other questions and like debate, so that's good. So someone needs to ask questions. And at the end of the day, I think there also needs to be one person that like just makes the executive decision because sometimes things can get out of hand. Like let's just say me and fatcat are testing this wombo combo deck that's like so fantastic, but we all know at the back of our head that we are just trying very hard to make this work when it's not meant to be. There needs to be a guy that comes in and says like, okay guys, not now, like this is for the future, let's just get back to the good things first. Like there needs to be some executive decision made in time and not waste too much time on things that are not meant to work right now. So I think this is the dynamic that I think works really well for me personally. And yeah, I guess you don't really need 2 people. You could have 3 people, 4 people. Not too much, not too little. Just enough people to like have all the sauce for this brew, you know.
Okay. How about you for you, Fat Cat? Did he cover everything or was there anything missing?
And mostly I think you need 2 players that I would see your levels that really like you need them to care. You need to have the time to talk about like me and Lamby, we talk about the game on this on messages Discord like every day. We're like, hey, have we tried this deck? Have we tried this card in this deck? What do you think
Yeah.
about X?
Yeah.
And also just I would say playing against each other a lot helps so much. Like if you are only playing on ladder, you won't know like the difference is huge between playing on ladder and playing friendlies.
I'm gonna add one more thing to what we both just said, which is I think very important, but I forgot about, which is I think in order to succeed in this game, in parallel in particular, is aside from being good, you kind of have to enjoy doing this. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
me
Yeah,
and fatcat very obviously like what we are doing. You know, you cannot do what we do without enjoying it. So I think that's very important as well.
So I have a question. Walk us down memory lane. Was there any combo or deck that you've tried that was just like hilariously bad or like or insane? I mean, we've talked about a few here and there, but I'm just curious if you've got any fun memories to share.
I feel like now we're like BVAT and Veen, and then like you guys want us to leak some. Okay, but I think fatcat, you start this one because I think you have more than me.
So the obvious one is the sleepy one that just like got revealed. People only tried it now. We tried it for Major 2 6 months ago. And we
Wow.
decided it wasn't good enough. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so
this
6 months ago, this is like one of our guilty pleasure things, but every time there's a patch, we try and make this deck work. I think some people know this already. So every time there's a
Yeah.
patch, we'll be like, yo, let's try this again. Or like, yo, I think this can work. So like we try this every patch. And the reason why I think now it's being brought to light a bit more is because firstly, I'm playing it a bit more also on stream and stuff. Not really on stream, but like on ladder and
On
stuff like
ladder,
that.
yeah.
And yeah, but it's the most viable it has been, but still not there. So I guess the
Okay.
CP Expertise deck is just something that you'll see pop up at the start of each patch. We'll just try. There's a few more. Okay, I think we can talk about this because he's mentioned it before as well. The reason why I even discovered fatcat as a potential practice partner was because he had this very insane. Some people will love this, by the way. Iraq combo deck. There's an Iraq OTK, by the way, that he was trying to make work and honestly could work, but just almost
Yeah.
gets there, but it's not there yet. So yeah.
Cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Lamby, like you have now like I think you as a practice partner is an amazing thing, but I'm sure like also scary because you stream, like you said, right? That there's almost like a Lamby effect, like when you try a new deck that no one's tried, that suddenly the play rate goes up like insanely high that week with that like Paragon or that deck because people are like, oh, I want to try this now. Do you think that there are any other players in the scene right now that are like that are like come out with decks and people are like, okay, I gotta figure this out, or I want to run this?
So I think definitely there's a lot of geniuses and big brains in parallel, and there's definitely a lot of people that are good at innovation.
Mhm.
I think I'm just in a position whereby I've consistently been like I don't want to use like KOL, but like card opinion leader, COL. Like so I've very consistently been someone that people listen to, and my track record of being correct is quite high. So people tend to listen more to what I say and do, which is why, like I said, I'm very careful, right? I don't want to sugarcoat, I don't want to lie as well, because I value my brand as well. So I always tell people, like, okay, this is something I'm trying. It might or might not be good. Go and figure it out yourself. Or I'll be like, oh, I cannot tell you what exactly I'm doing right now because I'm probably gonna bring it for the major. Like I'm always very direct and upfront, for my own integrity. It's just whether like you can take what I say and then use it for your own good, or take what I say and try and realize that I'm also just testing and it's not fantastic, that kind of thing. I'll always just say it for what it is. But of course, yeah, there's obviously some risk in the sense whereby if the deck is really too busted, then it's a bit dangerous if everyone knows about it, which is why we take it off ladder when we realize it's too busted. Yeah.
Okay. I got one more that I got to ask you guys, and I think a lot of people are going to want to hear the answer to this.
Okay.
You touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to start with fatcat first. Is there any hope for Iraq? Not Iraq, Augencore. Is there any hope for Augencore? And what do you need to see out of the game that you think will get it there? Like, what's stopping
So
it?
Oracle right now, the problem is the early game is bad. You don't like every other thing has at least a good one drop. Oracle just falls behind on board every time early. The hero powers are very good. There are some good late game cards and a lot of like combo stuff that almost works but not quite there. And like what you would need is some way to actually deal with the board or fight for board early. I think it's close to getting there. It's definitely not far away. The workshop hero power is very, very good, and also the arc hero power is quite good in the right deck. But right now, with no new cards or anything, no, it's not getting
Mhm.
there ever.
Okay.
All right.
Lamby?
So
Ever.
contrary to popular belief, I actually love Organ Core. No, I'm not capping, guys. I actually love Organ Core Workshop because like he said, like all the Hearthstone players, when they see the Juggernaut Workshop like hero power, they're just like, whoa, this is busted. Like that's my first thought as well. But like the problem with Organ Core, firstly, the early game. If you think about it, right, all of Organ Core's good early game is actually neutral units. Basically like the Alvaros, the ASV, the armor support vehicles. These are all things that are not Organ Core cards. They're just cards that everyone can play. Rummaging Researcher as well, by the way. These are all like generic cards. Organ Core doesn't have its own good early game, So that's a problem for sure. But Organ Core is really very close because Tetsu is an insane card. Sesmia is an insane card. Like all these late game options, even to a certain extent, Growl is a pretty good card. Like it's all like good, Like Organ Core has so many good cards. Repeater Cannon is a very strong card. Like all these are very good cards. It's just that you don't get there, Like you don't get to the point where you get to use the very good cards before you like die in the game. So yeah, Organ Core's early game definitely needs a bit of work.
Even like AOP, insane card,
Yeah.
you can
Mhm.
clear and keep development yourself. Do you think that Augencore is the most skill testing parallel, or which one do you think is the hardest? You think?
Shroud
Right
for sure right
now,
now.
yeah, right now is Neve, specifically
Okay,
Neve, I think.
Yeah, specifically.
wow,
If
fascinating. Going into another specific question, just about a parallel, but a card. Did you guys experiment with Raven, the new Battle Pass card, and what is your assessment of it?
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, so fatcat said in our private Discord that he was gonna make a Raven deck with 37 discard cards. He was so high on this card. Like he was
I
so high
really
on this
thought
card
this card
being
is so
good.
good.
Which is why I say that we disagree so often, but we still work really well together. Like I completely disagree with him. I was like, this card's mid, man. He was like, no, this card's the best. But the thing is, so we both tried this card. It has natural home in Organ Core because your workshop token can spawn and shoot your own Raven, and then you get the ramp and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But in general, I think discarding a card it's tough right now, especially on the play, right? You don't even have enough cards in hand, and then you also need a way for the Raven to get off the board because
That-
no snitching is in every deck.
Yeah, that's the thing. No snitching and like getting deal 2 from Shroud. The problem is that you want to get the Death Rattle. If you can consistently get the Death Rattle, the card becomes insane. But hitting it off by yourself is just not good enough. And if the opponents can just deny you the value of the ramp and the destroyer of the minion, that's not good. So it's not there
But
yet, but I think it has a lot of potential.
the
Okay.
funny thing is also we'll never shake the fact that we all came from Hearthstone, right? We say Death Rattle minions.
Yeah.
It will just never go away, man. But like anyway, yeah. So basically, the Raven aftermath effect is very
Aftermath, yeah.
difficult to very difficult to trigger right now,
It's
which is the
fine.
truth.
We all say Death Rattle. It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. This is actually my last one. We've talked a lot about tempo being king in parallel right now. And Veen has, pretty loudly talked about Deception getting a board wipe. I think it's like a 4 cost 3 damage board wipe.
Yeah,
Now,
Hellfire.
does that do it? Does that
Yeah.
do that for parallel to change the game? Does aggro take a massive hit? Do you guys have thoughts on this?
Is it neutral? It's neutral, right?
It's neutral.
I think it's gonna be a very big deal, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna matter for sure. I still think we're gonna be tempo focused. I think there's a lot of things you need to change for that, not just the one card.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely gonna change a lot of things.
I think it definitely changes the way we choose to play the game, because if the premium turn 4 AoE is 3 damage to everything, we are gonna build our decks towards 4 health, right? So you might see CP play that guy again, the conversion, the 2 mana 1/4. I'm just throwing random ideas out there right now.
Yeah.
You might
Yeah.
see the gold standard 2-drop to change from Cunning Scipion to 2 mana 1/4 guy, conversion guy. And then you might see more 3 mana 3/4s, 2 mana 3 mana 2/5s. So like basically stuff that are just naturally avoiding of like 3 damage AoE. I think it's gonna affect the game in the sense whereby your deck choices will change, but will the game become not tempo focused? I don't think so. But I think this kind of AoE that's generic will bring about innovation to the game for sure, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think we're almost ready to wrap here, but I have one just final question or just something for you guys to comment on. Like my assessment of both of you is that you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you said what to bring is like the least of your worries, and focus more on like the details of like what you would do in this situation and like mulligans and stuff like that. And sometimes it's a conversation of like, you know, your choices for the tournament of like deck what to bring for your deck is like more important sometimes than like the pilot. Maybe that isn't true because of like how refined the meta is getting, but more just like, walk me through a little bit of that mentality of like your focus on the details as a, do you kind of understand what I'm saying by
Yeah,
that?
so I have been complaining to Lamby all the time that I feel like we are losing the edge that we have
Yeah.
of like finding the best new card decks and refining everything. Because the more the meta gets refined, the less you can win in that stage of the game, and you have to actually pilot better. And that's like there's a lot more RNG involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean what he's trying to say essentially is that for innovators, the window of like geniusness and success closes the longer the meta gets, you know. So
Right.
because at the start of a new meta or patch, innovation is at its highest point because if you figure it out first, you get the edge, right? Because at the end of the day, card games are about information warfare. The less you know, the less you can like efficiently try and beat the other thing. So like the longer the meta has been, which is like the way the meta is right now, the meta has been around for a while. We are losing our edge simply because we the creative side gets like dumbed down a bit, and we are focusing more on just purely playing the good decks, which everyone else is doing. And in a card game, I guess the skill edge with if both sides are just playing the good decks is diminish a bit when like it's like just who goes first and who draws the one drop, that kind of thing, you know. Like if the things that matter in the difficult matchup is so little, like are you going first, are you drawing your one drop, are you drawing the saboteur and the city mirror, that kind of thing, or yeah, then the skill edge is diminished. So one thing I like now is that the one matchup that I think skill edge is still not really diminished yet is the Neve mirror. Like Neve mirror, if you are generally the better player, you win more often than not. So that is one thing that we still have. But like Cathy mirrors, everyone's kind of knows what to do already. CP mirrors already, I have lost to a silver player a while ago in the CP in the CP mirror. So you get my point. Like some of these mirrors are a bit more like predetermined, and if you cannot introduce new innovation into the game, you just have to accept that these predetermined matchups is your meta right now, and that's where our skill edge is diminished. Yeah.
Can you
How
actually
long?
speak to
Go
the
ahead, Ellie,
Neve
sorry.
mirror real quick? Like, I'm curious if you don't mind giving a little
Yeah.
bit of your secret sauce. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think decides those mirrors a lot of the time?
So for
You wanna
CP
go ahead?
mirrors, it's just like it's spending mana and it's going first. Yeah. A lot of the time now, going second got a lot better. There's a lot of decks prefer going second. CP mirror, you way prefer to go first. If you go first and spend your mana, you almost always win. You don't even need relic, you don't need anything. As long as you spend your mana, you just stay ahead on board and you keep snowballing it and you will win.
Yeah, do you hear the conviction in his voice there? I was convinced by that conviction, by the way. Like when I was practicing CP mirrors with him, right, I was like, there's no edge. Then he was like, the edge is going first. Velocity Striker, Relic, you don't even care if they saboteur you. Like, so basically, if you go first in the CP mirror, right, you really don't care if you get saboteured because the tempo advantage is always yours. And for the Cathy mirrors, it's very interesting. Shout out Manos, by the way. Like, me and him are really good at that mirror because it's one of the few tempo mirrors whereby if you know how to do value trading really well, you win a lot. Value trading basically just means if you kill their guy and your guy survives, that's a plus, you know. So in the Cathy mirrors, that's very important. Like valuing your artillery volleys for a swing, that kind of thing. Don't just like blindly trade every single time. Like make good value trades and stuff like that. And then I guess since we mentioned the Neve mirror is relatively high skill, I feel at the end of the day, Neve mirrors are a lot about like awareness, you know, like you need to be aware of like what your opponent is trying to do. Is he like when you play your scheming, what do you pick from their hand? What's their game plan? Don't lose to a triumph of the lost, all that kind of thing. It's a lot, but I guess these are some things that that we think about. And I guess since we haven't really talked about Earthen so far, I guess the Earthen mirror, I personally think that three Teolis in your deck in general in Earthen is very important. Because your Steward of the Garden always gets snitching, correct? Like you always mulligan for it, they always mulligan for the snitching. So what puts you in a position whereby you feel like, oh, it's fine. It's whereby you can go Teoli on turn 2 and play a 3 mana 6/6 caretaker. And then you feel like, oh, they just wasted their snitching because I still have a 3 mana 6/6 on the board. So stuff like this is things that we think about. If anything that we've said is like you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? Then congrats, you're learning.
Yeah.
Love it. I've certainly taken a lot away from the conversation. So,
Yeah.
Mookah, I think you had a question. Did you?
No, I think it got answered through it. No. Actually, I remember it now. It was just like you mentioned, like the window goes down with like how obviously how long a meta exists because more of it gets solved. What is like I guess like an ideal length for you guys when you guys think about how long metas should last and stuff like that?
I mean, ideally we get new cards all the time. Like the most fun I had by far is going to Major 2, like a week after the Major, and we have so many new things to come up with, and everything is up in the air. And that's the most fun for me. But like definitely it's fun for, I think like Hearthstone does it pretty well. We have like it's every 4 months, but within 2 months they have the mini expansion. So they keep the meta fresh quite consistently, and consistent like once a month balance changes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a definite answer for this one because like metas getting stale / metas being interesting is really dependent on like how fast people innovate also,
Mhm.
so it's like maybe during that Planetfall, the one thing I realized I like about Planetfall a lot is that even near the end of Planetfall there was like new things to do,
Hmm.
which was kind of interesting. Whereas for this one, this Aftermath kind of got solved a lot quicker in my
Yeah.
opinion. But it's not really anybody's fault. It's just like I guess the nature of the set or whatever. So maybe Deception will get solved a bit slower. I don't know, but
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, it's really like how fast people innovate and yeah, it's basically how fast people innovate. It's very subjective when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I always feel like like a like a big balance change or like a new set usually goes through like two waves, at least two waves, where like so the people think they solved it the first time, then you get like the crazy second wave that figured out even more. Maybe if a set is very complex, like Planetfall, I felt like it had that. I agree with you, where like there's like more waves that come, whereas like maybe Aftermath, maybe like only one like two waves if that feels like a hit, but. I like I like the idea of a set being out long enough or a patch being out long enough that you get like a window where people try a new thing once the first thing has been figured out. Because I feel like that always happens. Do you guys notice that when you are like playing your decks or like coming up with decks?
Yeah, definitely. Like new decks come up like at least for a month after, and balance changes helps a lot with that. Like
Mm,
we had CHE coming out like in Major 2, and that deck was just the best deck by far, better than everything. So as long as CHE wasn't nerfed, there was no point playing other decks.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? We say like there's no point playing other decks, but we are also like I agree. By the way, I feel like if you want to win, you really got to play the best thing. But like I mentioned a bit earlier as well, like we still enjoy innovating. That's why
mhm.
we bring up the CPS expertise thing once every patch. We try new things that like are just not meant to work right now, and then we keep it for hopefully the future. Like I think what we enjoy doing is the innovation. But what we enjoy doing more is winning. So we will keep our we will try, and then we will be sad that we cannot work it out, and then we will try and win with the normal things. Like so that's basically
Gotcha.
it. Yeah.
I I think that might be a perfect ending, unless you guys have anything else to add that you wanted to say to the people that you haven't yet. That's probably a pretty good stopping point.
I'm good, man. I enjoyed this a lot, by the way. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun.
Well, I loved the term card opinion leaders. You two are certainly COLs. And I will say that if any team or two of you can figure out a John deck, I believe it would be you two. So someday, I have faith in your innovation there. I believe it. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week again, of course. Lamby, fatcat, you guys have been fantastic guests. I feel like I took a lot away from this episode, just learning about your process and everything. So thanks for coming on the show, and we will see you guys next week.
This was a 983 Media Productions podcast.